Five summits, yeah.
And 5 summits is place top 10. And we're going to learn how to run our own AWS DeepRacer events. Let's give it up for Scott and Nick.
Hooray! All right, welcome everybody. So we are going to talk about how to roll your own DeepRacer events. Who are we? So you may know me from such ridiculous videos as Does Twitter Hate Cats, Angry Ferret Detector, and of course our series DeepRacer, the Fast and the Curious. I also am the lead instructor and responsible for our Certified Solutions Architect Professional course, as well as co-instructor for the AWS Machine Learning specialty on our A Cloud Guru platform. So, why am I up here? Well, for some strange reason, I managed to win in Chicago. And so that earned me a ticket to come here and miss out on the Sweet 16 by 1/10 of a second. I'm not bitter. Not bitter at all. But such is life. I want to introduce my colleague here.
Hi, I'm Nick. I also work at A Cloud Guru with Scott. I've been into DeepRacer since the early days. I have not had as much success as some might say, but I still love it.
So, in this presentation, I'm going to be playing the part of Captain Obvious. And the guy that really knows the stuff about hosting events is Nick, because he's done it. So, we're going to go down that road. So, without further ado, the very first thing that you need to host your own event is some space, okay? The track, this is the reInvent 2018 track, which I'm sure all of you are very familiar with. It's roughly 17 feet by 26 feet. And as my partner here would remind me, only about 3 countries in the world use imperial measurements. So I did convert this to metric for those of you who speak metric. So that's roughly 8 meters by 5 meters. The problem is that if you're hosting an event, you need space bigger than just the track because you're going to need to have other activities.
Yep. So whenever you're hosting an event, we're going to need like a bit of a collaboration space over here where people can just talk about DeepRacer, compare ideas and so on. You'll also need an area for staging, so somewhere where you can charge the cars, get the models loaded, get the drivers ready and so on, and of course an important spectator space all around the track. And let's not forget, of course, the reason why most people go to these meetups, you will need a pizza table somewhere on the floor and a welcome area. So what that ends up looking like is you need an area roughly 15 meters by 10 meters to fit all this in. Now, for some of us, that's 50 feet by 33 feet, or if we're talking in feet, might as well go the extra mile and go 148 hands by 99 hands. So we've just got a few pictures of the event we ran. So there's our track there. You might notice a bit of a blemish down there on the track. I'll talk about that later. There you can see the track in the spectator areas, more spectators and local cheer squad, spectators. Oh yeah, we also ran 2 breakout sessions in our office on the night. So the first session was really about introducing people to DeepRacer. So we went through how to train your first model and a little bit of the machine learning that sits behind DeepRacer. Luckily for us, we also had access to the lovely Kuhl, which you may recognize from the previous presentation, and the the Virtual League winner. He was able to give some advanced tips and tricks for those that were already familiar with DeepRacer. And here is our collaboration space and our pit area with Nick T, you may recognize from our platform, and his collection of empty beer bottles. Luckily, DeepRacer is probably the only motorsport where drinking and driving is encouraged.
Okay, the number 2 item that you're going to need to host your own event, you need a track. Okay, so as we all know, this track over here, very, very fine, very high quality track. There is also fabric tracks that you can get. There's also a place that you can buy a vinyl track that's been printed out. Some people have had okay success with just using masking tape on carpet, just to provide some contrast. But in our case, we wanted to build our own track.
Yep. So we wanted something a little bit more durable and something that we could pack up. So what we started with was just the official AWS specification. You might recognize that track. We then overlaid a 60 centimeter by 60 centimeter grid, 1.9 feet, 5.9 hands. Each grid square was allocated coordinates. And then you may ask, why did we choose that size? Well, these lovely little things over here. These are EVA foam floor tiles. You can find them in most discount stores, either with the gym equipment or with the kids equipment. They use them to protect the ground. They're lovely and durable and snap together. So you take some of those, add some masking tape, a whole pile of green paint, some blue core flute for the walls. Can't forget the walls, otherwise the car starts taking out people's legs. Add a whole bunch of time and you end up with a track. Angela there, not included. So just a few shots of the process. So what we did is each square was marked out with the lines according to its grid, added some masking tape, added some paint under supervision. Now the blemish on the track. So I started this process at home and ended up with a nice paw print trail through my kitchen and lounge room of green paint due to a very curious German Shepherd. So if doing this at home, be wary of stray animals. Here you can see, once we moved it to the office, things started looking a bit better. You can clearly see the different squares and how they fit together. If you wanted to make just the track itself, like there, you probably only need about 60 to 70 tiles, but we wanted to complete it out and ended up with about 120 tiles. Like all manual endeavors, eventually you end up with supervisors helping the process. Just putting the finishing touches on the track there. Once again, finished track with Angela and ruler to scale. That ruler, 30 centimeters, 11.8 inches, 2.95 hands, or 0.016 nautical miles. Once we had our track ready, we were pretty confident we can host an event. So one of our designers mocked up a nice little poster there, and we shared that around, put it on social media, and so on.
Okay, item number 3 on your Roll Your Own DeepRacer event shopping list. You're going to have to get some cars. Okay. Hey, Nick, how did we get cars?
Beg, borrow, and steal. No. Luckily, AWS was able to help us. Not everyone has DeepRacer cars laying around. So on the night, you're going to need at least 3 cars. You want to keep a car on the track at all times. People want to race. There's a short amount of time on the night, so 1 track on car at all times. You want 1 car in the pit area being prepared for the next racer, and then 1 car as a backup because things go wrong all the time. If you can get your hands on some nice little blue batteries in the corner there, do so because they run out really quickly on the night. So you can see here our pit area with Nick getting things ready again, and the pit crew. One thing you will need that you may not need at all other events is a lot of people to run the event. You'll always need at least 1 person preparing cars, 1 person doing timing, 1 person who's one person preparing time, 1 person who's actually bringing people up to the track, encouraging people to race, and you will need a crew of fairly fit people to chase the car around when things go wrong, because they do go wrong quite a lot.
All right, item number 4 on the list of Roll Your Own DeepRacer events. Solicit help from AWS. How did AWS help us?
So AWS was great. They came on the night, gave us cars, batteries. They also brought a few people to help chase the cars around the track because we were a bit short. And probably one of the best things they were able to provide for us was this. We were actually given an EC2 instance with the official scoreboard code. So it looked nice and legit. You may recognize the name up there, and let's not talk about that time.
All right, so 4 easy steps. Get some space, get a track, get some cars, engage AWS, then you can profit, right? So, what questions, if any, do we have that we can answer for you? The puppet will also be taking questions too. Yes,
What if I can't get enough cars? So assuming I have only 1, did you guys have any event where you didn't have access to lots of cars?
So we only had 1 car as well. We just got in touch with our local AWS people, and they put us in touch with the local DeepRacer team, and they were able to provide us with a lot of cars. You've seen AWS is very happy to invest in DeepRacer, so I'm sure if you would ask the local team, they'll be able to help you out.
Thanks. Did you find using the tiles where they link in, were there any issues with the car? Did the car not really get affected by that?
No, when we were painting the track, we actually had them linked up. So when they actually linked together, there was no lines or seams visible. It does take a bit of like flattening down when you first put it out, but once you've done that, it looks smooth.
All right. Oh, Mr. Pete?
Tell us about the puppet.
All right. So I'm not a big fan of cameras or public speaking. So recently I was asked by Scott to record a show for our website. Wasn't keen on the idea, so I managed to find a stand-in in Nick the Puppet. Do check it out on the website. It's very funny. This is me, by the way.
I asked some hard-hitting questions.
Except there's a ringer in the audience.
All right. What other questions? Yes, sir.
What do you think the best time will be today in the top 16?
When they were describing yesterday that theoretically the best possible time is something, I started getting suspicious. So I think we're probably going to be pretty close to that theoretical best time, I think. Yeah. We are. Wow. Yeah, 8089. That's incredible. Okay. Oh, sorry. So the question was, what do we think the best time is going to be coming out of the 16 that are racing right now? And I guess at present we have 8.089 seconds from Solo. Yeah, that is whatever she's doing. All right. Any other questions? Anything else in general that we can answer for DeepRacer? I'm speaking to DeepRacer experts, so.
Well, I'm DeepRacer expert. I don't know.
Right. Yes, sir.
Did you try other tracks that you showed on the screen?
Sorry?
Other tracks, not the one you built. Did you try other tracks, and what's your opinion?
We tried to make the track modular so we could move things around, but that ended up being way too difficult. So we've just stuck with this track. Hopefully we can reuse some of those tiles because it is just interlocking tiles. Unfortunately, we're kind of locked into that one for now. Oh, yeah. So we did try initially just some tape on the ground. Didn't work too well because of we had a concrete ground, and the reflections from the concrete really washed out the camera. We also tried fabric, but we had problems with the ripples in the fabric that appear, and that just made the lines wavy through the camera. It got really confusing. I also tried it on carpet with just tape. Although I've seen videos of it working on Twitter, I couldn't replicate that. Yeah, things like this. I found that you really needed to differentiate between what was on track and off track by having green and the dark color, because it's two different shades of grey. And of course, the most important part, the walls. At first we tried without the walls, thinking the car is just looking at the ground. No. As soon as whenever we didn't have the walls, the car just flew off on the first corner. As soon as we put the walls in, the car started following the track. So it's actually using all three elements in its image recognition. It's not just using one.
One of the things that I did notice, because I was over in Melbourne a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to run on that track, and it was the middle of the day, and light was coming in through the windows, and it was still creating a reflection that the camera was picking up. And so that was kind of wreaking a little bit of havoc. So I'm wondering if maybe if you're trying to do this, you might want to get some flat paint rather than maybe just whatever general paint it is. Make sure it's flat so it's least reflective that you can possibly find.
That's it. Lighting is like really important, absolutely critical.
Lighting is important. We noticed yesterday. I think we noticed yesterday that lighting is very important.
Yeah.
There was only one good track yesterday, I think, right?
Yeah. That was my experience, actually. All right. Other questions? All right. Well, that's all we have. Thank you very much. Thank you.